The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. John Mulaney was on Hot Ones. That's the podcast where you eat increasingly hot, spicy wings. He was asked by host Sean Evans what the worst reaction he ever got from a celebrity host on a sketch Mulaney had pitched when writing for SNL. The answer, Mick Jagger. Mulaney had a joke. I think this is fantastic. Hey, everybody, I'm Mick Jagger. So mothers, lock up your daughters, or should I say daughters, lock up your mothers. That is hilarious. Mulaney said, Mick listened, and he went, nah, I don't like that. But Mulaney says, I remember I made Seth Meyers read that one. That's a great joke. Mulaney said, I'm very confident there's a profound difference between knowing you're hearing a joke from a person and knowing you're hearing it from AI. I took the challenge and I asked the late bot to come up with some stuff involving Mick Jagger, and they were all terrible except for this one, which is passable and not very good. Late bot says, Mick Jagger once tried to hit on my mother, but she told him, you can't always get what you want. Hack. The BTS Army is mad at Jimmy O. Yang. His special's been out on Amazon for a while. I got to watch that as well. It's called Guess How Much. And he starts joking about BTS, and the joke starts with Yang seemingly praising BTS and their extensive reach in the U.S., and he says, I love my BTS. Man, even white people know BTS now. That's progress. And then he jokes about how once a 15-year-old white kid tried to introduce him to the different BTS members. And then the punchline is that to him, all the 7 members look the same. I didn't want to say it. I couldn't say it as an Asian person, but they all just look like me with pink hair. He ends the joke saying, I could turn this whole show into a BTS concert right now. He points to himself and goes, this is Jimmy. Then he takes off his glasses and he goes, and this is Jimin right here. You don't know. Sounds funny even me telling it, right? It's a 40-second clip and the BTS fans are not happy. They've expressed disappointment in Yang resorting to cracking jokes using harmful stereotypes against Asians created mostly by the West, despite being a Chinese-American artist himself. Eliza Schlesinger is playing Hawaii at the end of the month. One show on Oahu, the other on Maui. Not bad, Eliza. But she was making fun of Hawaii's traffic. It said, hey, when you get your ticket, start making your way to the theater early, because if somebody gets a flat, you're all screwed. She says, I haven't been to Hawaii in a while, so I'm not doing any of the material that you saw in Hot Forever, my last Netflix special. This is brand new. This is what we're working towards, a new special, and you guys are the first ones that get to see it, so it's a good time. Maui, July 27th. Honolulu, July 28th. Jeff Foxworthy talked to the Branson Tri-Lake News, which is your home for comedy news, about the Blue Collar Tour, and Jeff said, I enjoyed most of it. That was the most fun thing I'd ever done. A few years ago, I had said, and Ron's kind of the one that's not as gung-ho as the rest of us, I said, hey, come on, Ron, it was so much fun. Let's do it one more time. Ron said, I can't write 30 minutes of clean material, and I said, you can. We did 3 Blue Collar Tours, and you did it for that. And he said, all right, I'm too lazy to write 30 minutes of clean material. Jeff said, if I had one more thing I'd like to do before I hang up my cleats, that would be it. I'd like to do it one more time. When I hang up with you, I'm texting Ron that. Come on, man, let's do it one more time. Jeff was about to do a show with Larry, the cable guy, and he was looking forward to it. He said, I hadn't worked with Larry in almost a year. I'm really looking forward to it. When we were doing Blue Collar, he'd be out there on the stools. He was like the Tim Conway of the Carol Burnett show. All he wanted to do was make me laugh, so we would go off on tangents. I knew if I looked at him, I was going to start laughing, so I just stared down at the floor, and Ron would consistently lean over and go, just look at him, just look at him. And I'd go, hell no, I'm not looking at him. So I look at him, I'll laugh, and that's what he wants me to do. I have talked many times on this podcast of working with the Blue Collar guys, all great guys. Even more great is Jeff, and even more great is Larry. They are wonderful people. Bill Engvall's listening right now going, you bastard, I've done favors for you. Bill's also cool. I know Ron the least, although when I met Ron and he found out I was the guy who was scheduling records on Sirius, he thanked me for the royalty checks he was getting. They were quite significant. He shared the number with me, and I was like, you're welcome, buddy. Andrew Schulz will be touring the UK and Ireland this autumn. Dublin, October 12th, Glasgow, October 13th, Manchester, October 15th, and the Royal Albert Hall, October 19th. We'll find out how many holes it takes to fill it. Hari Kondabolu spoke to Exclaim and said, I'm a dad now, so clearly there's a lot going on that has nothing to do with my career. There was a time when I lived and died off my thoughts and feelings, and I realized they're not as important as I thought they were. After the child was born, it's like, those are all second to the million other things this child requires. The best part of it, selfishly, is I've tried to find ways for years to minimize self. Isn't that like the goal of Buddhism? And all it required was not meditation, but a child. And now the self is so small, the self is a conduit to making sure my kid is okay. 1 I'm ready to sell out. That's one big epiphany I had. I never had that inkling, and now I'm like, I'll do whatever you need me to do. 2, if my child wants to get into the arts, and particularly stand-up, I will not be nice about it. This is not something I wish upon my child, and in some weird way, I feel like I want what my parents wanted for me, for him, going to something with a stable income where you can have a family and have more energy. Don't do what I did. I have a joke on the special. Do you realize how hard your grandparents had to work? Don't waste this opportunity. With their generation, they had this large immigrant community, so the safety net is even bigger than you think. The community makes sure you're okay. They'll never let you forget that you were in peril. That'll be brought up for generations, but in this generation, I want to have the same level of immigrant safety net. It goes down with me.
I'm Erica, 1/3 of the podcast Books and Betches, a comedy book podcast where we swear, spoil, and we talk about...
Whoa, you cannot say that in this.
What do you mean? That's our slogan. It's our gimmick.
How about we just give some examples of things we talk about?
Well, there's a lot of chaos.
I'm Kristen, and with me I have...
Whopper!
No.
A lot of sidebar conversations.
Are you denying the existence of chupacabras?
You know, Erica, yes, I am.
You can listen to new episodes of the Books and Betches podcast every Tuesday morning, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Johnny Mac, you never talk about Jon Cleese. I know, right? John was talking to the Daily Mail. He's working on the stage adaptation of Life of Brian. He's actually cutting the final scene from the movie. That is the scene where they sing Always Look on the Bright Side of Life and says, nobody's going to be shocked now to see people singing while on a crucifix. People thought it was hilarious. They screamed with laughter. Well, nobody's going to be shocked now. That joke is 40 years old. Cleese assured the Mail that the film's transphobic Loretta scene would remain in the show, despite very experienced actors telling him he wasn't able to do it. In the original movie, the Loretta scene features a character played by Eric Idle who has to be called Loretta and voices a longing to bear a child. Cleese's character in the scene dismisses the request as ridiculous. Others who have pushed back on the show are other Pythons. In May, Eric Idle expressed his support for the project by tweeting he has nothing at all to do with it, adding, apparently Cleese has cut the song. Of course. Cleese shot back, saying Idle is very keen to use the song because he gets all the royalties from it. Michael Palin tried to offer Cleese some feedback that Cleese didn't take. Cleese said, Michael and I liked the first half of the new script, but was dubious about the changes that I had made in the second half. Cleese wants to challenge people by doing the unexpected. For example, he wants to ensure the integrity of the project by making sure a marginalized group he and his weird friends have an outsized interest in is subject to hackneyed jokes and stereotypes. The Daily Mail writes, no one could have predicted that the guy who spent the last few years complaining about wokeness and defending J.K. Rowling would do something like this. Unpredictable. High Times asked Nimesh Patel, what's been thrown at you on stage? Nimesh said, in Phoenix, the fire alarm went off for about 10 or 15 minutes into my set. It wasn't a typical fire alarm. It was the mall's fire alarm, loud as hell. For about 7 minutes, I had to navigate the situation with an uncertainty. I didn't know if it was a real fire. No one from the club was communicating. Eventually, someone said it was a false alarm. But those 7 or 8 minutes were completely unexpected. I'd never expected anything like that. I had to hold the audience's attention and keep them engaged. Fortunately, everyone had a great time and no one was hurt. It was a unique learning experience. Great story, but the question was, what's been thrown at you on stage? And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Smash the like. See you tomorrow.